you bleed green? Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go!
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go!
And a good Wednesday summer morning, Eagles fans. It is absolutely the summer, both weather-wise and the inactivity on the football front. But, hey, last night we had Craig Kimball shutting it down and winning the All-Star game for the National League for the first time in 10 years, as correctly predicted by yours truly on WIP last night. So I'm feeling fine this morning. How you feeling, Johnny Mac?
I'm feeling good, Jody. Over under on how many pitches of that All-Star game I watched.
That
would be nada.
A half would be
You're going
under.
under.
Huh?
You're going under, yeah.
I did watch the All-Star game, and yeah, I thought that Rob Thompson would take advantage of his being the manager and would give his guy the chance to shut it down in the ninth, and he did. Walked a couple of guys to make it interesting, but did get the save first time in a decade that the National League won the World Series. So, yeah, I watched plenty of that. I was on the air for the majority of it, but then at 10 o'clock.
I still love All-Star. I told that story. I still love All-Star games as a kid. And I always thought to myself, man, I hate All-Star games. I hate every All-Star game. I hate the NBA All-Star game, the baseball All-Star game. You know, the NHL, the Pro Bowl was a joke, and they finally got rid of it, thankfully, the Pro Bowl games. I don't know how much better that is, but I said, man, why do I hate these games so much? And one day I just had the epiphany. I was like, they're for kids. I loved them as a kid because you don't realize what nonsense it is, but you're just seeing the stars that you grew up and you loved, and they're all intermingled and together. And then when you grow up, you realize, oh, this is stupid.
I agree with you that it was a kid's thing when you and I were younger, but the game's changed. It used to be, since we went to baseball, and that's the one that was played last night, guys didn't play each other. Henry Aaron didn't play Mickey Mantle. Yeah. The only time you got to see Henry Aaron and Mickey Mantle play against each other was in the All-Star game. That's it. There was no free agency. There was no interleague play. There was no Major League Baseball on an app, on your phone, on the web, on MLB Network. You got Saturday game of the week, the World Series, and the All-Star game. That was it. That's the only time you ever got a chance to see the superstar players from other teams. So, man, when they came on, it was something special. Now, it's nothing special. It's on every night. You can watch every game every night. So modern technology and things in the game have changed.
Yeah, that's part of it. Important. And the worst is, in the other sports, changing. I won't talk. I'm not an expert, but changing Eastern Conference versus Western Conference to whatever the hell they do. Team LeBron versus. I mean, that just no. When you do stuff like that, you're saying, all right, this is awful, and we're trying to obfuscate the fact that it's awful with this
tinker with it to hide it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did. I enjoyed the All-Star game last night. Not as much as I used to when I was a kid. Johnny Mac's right about that, but it was still good because Nick Castellanos, yeah, I got that right. Eskin owes me $1. Nick Castellanos going to get 1 at bat. He got 3 plate appearances. He got 2 at bats and a walk and played center field. Rob Thompson threw him out in center field last night. That's the kind of crazy stuff you can do in the All-Star game. Yeah, I did watch. And because there's no football to be watching or be talking about, we'll come up with 2 hours worth of conversation today. We got a double G show. Mike Gill and Bob Groats are going to join us as our guests. Johnny Mac, here's where I want to start with today's football conversation since we've exhausted baseball. I got a feeling. Maybe it's because the Phillies won the All-Star game at something. I got a feeling that something's going to happen here in the next couple of days with the Eagles. Based on absolutely nothing. I've got no sources. I've got no inside info. I just get things have been too slow around the National Football League in general, but specifically slow around the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you think the inactivity is telling us something? Do you think Howie may have something up his sleeve?
He might, but not because of the inactivity. I mean, they're not in the building. They haven't been in the building. They're literally on vacation. They're not doing anything.
Well understood.
Now I'm looking at my phone at the date. So we're July 12th, July 25th. I'm pretty sure everybody's back this weekend. By everybody, I mean the front office, the coaching staff, and the executives. So, there's business to be done. They still have to sign Calais Ringo. As I say, don't worry about it. It'll get done probably a couple days before camp. And I think we talked about it with Ed last week, Ed Kratz, could they add somebody before training camp? Yeah, I mean, when they get back in the building, they're going to be looking at what they did in the offseason, as we joke about how little it was. But, there was more stuff than we got to see. And I always say with young players, like everybody in this league, not just the Eagles, everybody in this league gets super jacked up after the draft. We got this guy, we got that guy, we got this guy. And then they get them on the field in the spring and they go, ooh, well, this guy's probably not ready. And that's when the Dalvin Cooks and the DeAndre Hopkins can start to get a little bit of leverage, even though they got kind of screwed by the timing of when they were released. And people start to realize, I need this, I need that, I need this. And the Eagles might be in that category. We talked about it with linebacker, most notably. Could they bring somebody in? Sure. Steven Nelson a couple of years ago. They needed a corner. We talked about it all off season. They need a corner. They need a corner. They need a corner. Well, are they really going to throw Zach McPherson out there as a 4th-round pick? And the answer was no. And they ultimately signed Steven Nelson, I think, 2 days before training camp. So it's possible. It's always possible with Harry Roseman. And by the way, at the other end of the spectrum with Anthony Harris, I bring that up all the time, August 30th. It can go throughout the summer when they picked up C.J. Gardner-Johnson. If you go back to the Super Bowl.
Was that the date, August 30th? I was trying to think the other day. Was it late August or early September?
August 30th.
Because it was within days of the start of the season, but it was actually late August, not early September.
It was 11 days, August 30th, but right when the cut down was, to 53. And they had a little bit of time before week 1, and that was a big narrative, obviously, to get somebody up to speed that quickly, which kind of shines a light on the fact that, they're not doing a lot, so you can get guys up to speed pretty quickly. And, if you go back to the Super Bowl season, I was saying Ronald Darby, that was more mid-August. There will be a player on this team that's not here yet by the time we get to August 30th. That's how I'll say it.
I would tend to agree with that. But I just have this feeling that maybe some you're right there. If they're not even in the building, how he's working his cell phone to talk to an agent to potentially sign a free agent, probably not. But just I got this weird feeling. All right, here's one other thing that I did want to touch on before we get our buddy Mike Gill up as our first guest today. I go to my usual football websites in the morning, prepping to be on with you. Bleeding Green Nation, Inside the Eagles, Inside the Birds, Eagles Wire. And this one was on Eagles Wire today. The Eagles ranking in spending under the cap at each individual position, breaking the positions down by cap hit for the players on the roster as of right now, as compared to the other teams in the National Football League. And this will kind of jump out at you, and then I'll explain it why I think it's a little bit of a misleading article. Eagles spending on quarterback in the National Football League right now ranked 24th. Whoa, they just gave you. Well, no, it's just this year. So they did the deal, so they weren't taking a massive cap hit this year. Oh, there's massive cap hits to come for Jalen Hurts. It's just not this year. So they're 24th in the NFL quarterback spending. Running back spending 22nd. Wide receiver spending only 18th. And that's with A.J. Brown as their lead guy, but Devontae Smith still on a rookie deal. Quez Watkins still on a rookie deal. 18th in wide receivers. 18th in tight ends. 10th in offensive line. They've got the best offensive line in football, but they're only 10th in spending on the offensive line. That's pretty good cap management by Howie Roseman. Defensive tackle, which includes two really good young guys, but Fletcher Cox makes a nice chunk of change. 23rd, defensive end. Here's where the spending comes in. They're 5th because Josh Sweat's getting paid. Hassan Reddick's getting paid. Shoot, even Derek Barnett is getting paid, even though he's down the roster of mixes. So who's actually going to pay? That's where they spend the most money at defensive end. They're the 5th ranked spender in the NFL. Linebacker, you want to guess, Johnny Mac, out of 32?
They got to be 30, 31, or 32. They got to be bottom 3 at linebacker.
They would be 31st out of 32 teams, correct? And safety.
Same thing. Got to be 30, 31.
32nd. They are last in safety. And cornerback, which I thought they'd be higher, the 8th in cornerback. And they got 2 very good cornerbacks, but they redid Slay's deal. So, again, that goes down the road. I'm looking at these numbers and going, wait a minute. If the Eagles have arguably the best roster in the National Football League, how can they be nowhere in the top 5 ranking positionally, any of these positions? And then I figured that out. It dawned on me. The Eagles have a lot of dead cap money. That's how Howie Roseman does this. He's willing to take hits with dead cap money to push it down the road, to stay viable in season, that at some point you're going to have to pay a price. But the way they broke it out, this is just in cap hits this year as per position. Well, they basically have to do that because they are far and away the leading team in the National Football League with dead cap money. They've got over $48 million in dead cap money. That's how they get the roster together, because they take hits on other guys. So it doesn't show up in certain figures. Howie Roseman has always been able to do it, and it seems to me you would pay a bigger price for it. But they're not, because they have one of the best rosters in the National Football League, even though they have far and away the best dead cap money, which means Howie Roseman gets – and who are his guys, his underlings? That you always
Jake Rosenberg and Bryce Johnston. And, yeah, I would add to it, like, that's taking a picture right now. Like, if people don't want to take a picture of us, obviously, but if you take a picture in the moment, it's a picture in the moment, and it doesn't take into account anything else. So, and I've seen those stories before, and I forget where it was. I'm not trying to pick on them, but they're kind of meaningless because it doesn't look at the big picture. Like if Jake Rosenberg and Bryce Johnson were doing their job that way, looking at, oh, we got to worry about the cap this year, they'd be fired inside of 10 seconds. It's this whole sort of living and breathing organism, as you mentioned. Start with Jalen Hurts. Well, yeah, they set up the contract so it's light early, and obviously you got to pay the price down the road. However, they're going to restructure the deal again and again and again and again. And they're, again, they're not the first to do this. I've seen these stories, but they're kind of meaningless in that it's that snapshot that doesn't take into account the bigger picture. Where you can get a sort of a feel, but you already know this, is linebacker and safety, right? I mean, they don't spend at linebacker and safety. And they're talent deficient at linebacker and safety. So, I mean, there's some obvious takeaways. And that comes with valuation of positions. And you mentioned edge. Well, they value edges.
They're willing to
So
pay
they're willing to pay. And even on the interior, they're willing to pay when it's time to pay. And cornerback, they're willing to pay when it's time to pay. They got a little bit of a break from James Bradbury, which is always helpful. But they're willing to pay that position. They proved with A.J. Brown, after many years, by the way, of struggling at that position, that they were willing to pay to finally fix the position. And obviously quarterback, most notably. And, you know, other teams, and there's different philosophies, San Francisco, Baltimore, Chicago, who are paying off-ball linebackers, some with success, some with not success, but we'll see. I mean, Chicago just did it, so you can't really say it's not success. Are they right? Are the Eagles wrong? Well, that's the beauty. You get to figure it out.
And the results will play themselves out on the field. I just thought it was tremendously interesting that one way you look at it, you go, oh my God, the Eagles are geniuses. And you factor in another set of figures, you go, oh, okay, that explains it. They're willing to play with dead cap money. See, if I were a capologist, that would keep me up at night. If I'm taking a cap hit for someone who's no longer on my team.
Well, the owner helps. That's where the owner helps, because
exactly.
some people don't have that leash in this league. I talk about it with GMs all the time. Most GMs do not have the luxury that Howie Roseman has.
Correct.
They don't have that kind of rope. They don't have that kind of leash to be able to make those kinds of, whether you want to call them mistakes with Carson Wentz, however you want to describe it, whatever adjective you want to use, most GMs don't have that luxury. So Jeffrey Lurie's a big part of Howie Roseman's success.
You're right. And Carson Wentz was a mistake, but like they're still paying a dead cap hit this year for Brooks on the offensive line. That wasn't a mistake. That was just the way that they chose to structure the contract, to continue to take hits down the road. And at some point, the bill comes due, and you got to be able to pay it even after the guy's been off your team for 2 years. That's a philosophy. That's a way to do business. And you're right. If the owner isn't willing to go with it, you're not allowed to do it as a general manager or a cap manager of those teams. So the Eagles are in damn good position because of the talent on their roster. And they're, I think, in the top 10 in cap space as of right now, adjusted cap space. So if they did want to make a play for a free agent, they could go out and do it. I still don't think it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins or Dalvin Cook, but any other free agents out there at this stage that is thinking they're going to get paid, I'm doubting it highly. The Eagles could be competitive with anybody else if they had an injury and they had a need once camp does open up. All right, speaking of camp opening up, we are now just 12 days away from the Eagles actually getting together as a team and getting the 2023 season underway. Mac and Mac guys here to talk about it with you. We will be joined by our buddy from down the shore, Big Mike Gill, first Wednesday guest, up next here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Appreciate you streaming on in here on Birds 365 with your Mac and Mac guys. Hey, it's a Wednesday. That means all of you Mike Gill devotees, we got a couple
There's
of
a lot of them.
fans on
A
the
lot
stream.
of them.
Oh, Gill's in the house. Gotta have Gill. We have Gill every Wednesday. So if you're one of those, hit the like button right now. Come on, you got to back your guy. If you're that big a Mike Gill fan, you got to hit the like button. Show a little love to the Birds 365 crew, which on Wednesday morning always includes Mike Gill and his T-shirt reveal. Mike Gill,
Oh, yeah.
lean back.
This one's
I
tough
think there's
today.
a
You
song
can't.
like that.
This one's tough today. You can't really see. It is a Altoona Curve minor
Altoona
league
Curve,
baseball
nice.
team of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I will be in Altoona. My team advanced to the regionals, so the games are in Altoona, which we were a couple of years ago. And I picked up a Curve shirt when I went to the ball game out there. So the Altoona Curve are the.
By the way, guess who was a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, or he was until he became a certain Commander-in-Chief.
Oh, the head coach of the Philadelphia
The head
Eagles?
coach of the Philadelphia
Grew up
Eagles.
a Pirates fan, did he?
Yes, big Pirates fan.
There you go. Yes.
Big Pirates fan.
Well, that's upstate Pennsylvania, and that's where Altoona is, right?
Yeah.
What's the official mileage from the Jersey Shore to Altoona, PA? How long is it going to take you to get up there?
About a 5-hour drive, but
Yeah.
when I'm there, the week that we're there for our tournament, the Reading Phillies will be there, so I'll get a chance to check out the Phils of tomorrow.
Very nice.
We're gonna hit a couple Curve games while we're out there, because let me tell you, not much else to do in Altoona this time of the
I
year.
just that downtown section of Altoona, not jumping at night till 2:00 in the morning. Make sure the kids are all tucked into their hotel beds, and Mike gets out and parties like it's 1999. That's not happening.
More like 1985 in that town, man.
By the way, I saw a Derek Jeter rehab appearance in Trenton at one time. It was a zoo for the then Trenton Thunder. I believe they have changed since then.
Yeah, well, the kid from Bishop Eustis pitches for Altoona. He got drafted in the first round. Solamento, 2 years ago. He's a lefty, so we're hoping we catch him one of the days while he's out there. And I don't know what it lines up for Abel if he when they play 6-game sets in the minor league, so they're out there for 6 days.
6 games, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Come in for an entire week. All right, Mr. Talk Show host. This Debo Samuel thing. 2 nights ago, my buddy Zach Gelb on CBS Sports got Debo Samuel on, tied into some kind of promotion. He must have been promoting something because a PR person was involved. Usually it's just you get somebody involved and you get them on the line and you do an interview. I know I do them on the weekends on CBS. And Gelb went to what he said about they would have beaten the Eagles if Brock Purdy didn't get her. He gave a quick dismissive answer. Zach tried to follow up, and he just the PR person jumped in and said, "That'll do," and the interview was over and done with. Is this San Francisco, Philadelphia thing? Media members out in San Francisco still talking some trash about Philadelphia fans. Is this going to play all the way up till week 13? When the 49ers and the Eagles play? Is this going to be as big a rivalry game leading up to it as Eagles-Cowboys this season?
I don't know if about bigger than Eagles-Cowboys, but it'll definitely, and depending on how both teams are, I mean, you would imagine if they're both really good entering week 12 or 13, whatever that game is, that is going to resurface big time that week of that game, and that will probably be the only talking point of that game for most people. Is it's the Debo Samuel revenge. He's been talking about this game. And then on the flip side here, anybody who gets a chance, if he does anything during the week, I wouldn't even be surprised in an era where the newspapers aren't sending people places, they're cutting back. If this is the only week they said, we're going to send you out to San Francisco this week to try to get something from him to make some headlines this week, because you thought it was done. It was almost like the last week when I was on, we talked about the field at the Super Bowl. You thought that was done and passed, and then here we are all these months later.
Yeah, well, you can tell it's the off season. Yeah, people keep bringing this stuff up.
Now,
so my question, Mike, is it more? Debo said what he said originally, but is it at this point? Is it more fan driven than it is like when it does get to week 13 or whatever that is? I don't think it's going to be much of a deal.
He knew the week. I mean, he was dialed in on. I mean, he said, "Well, we'll find out in week 12 or 13." It wasn't like one of those guys who said, "I don't know what the schedule looks like."
Then the San Francisco radio host, and I forget his name, maybe you remember it, Jody, he went off on Philadelphia fans. Like, I feel it's more, and by the way, not all radio hosts, but you guys are great, but there's some blowhards out there who just try to generate engagement with some, whether you want to call it shock jock or whatever. That's what I felt that was. I think it's more of that at this point, but maybe I'm wrong. Debo said what he said. You probably should have let it go. And at this point, I think he's trying to let it go.
Did Debo say that not understanding the backlash he was going to get from it, specifically knowing the Eagles fan base? Like, you said something that once you kind of get under their skin, the Eagles fan base, they don't forget about it, and that has kind of just perpetuated.
Well, yeah, but to be fair to the Eagles fans, I think there's knuckleheads in every fan base, and there's going to be. And San Francisco, by the way, has a long history of some untoward things happening, whether it was Candlestick Park or now it's Santa Clara, you're always going to have that knucklehead portion of the fan base. This seems manufactured to me. Does it not seem manufactured to you guys?
No, I think the only manufacturing, and it was well done by Zach Gelb, was to try and get under Debo's skin, to try and get a controversial. But
then that's manufactured, right, Jody?
Correct, it is, yeah. And Zach Gelb did a good job, but I don't think Debo did it. I don't think Debo was on. There's a reason what they shut it down. I'm sure he had a talk with the PR person at that time. We want to steer clear of this. It's over. It's done with. We don't need to be drudging up this topic. And Gelb, to his credit, did it and went there and got Debo to say something on the record again.
I wouldn't say it's manufactured by Gelb as much as Gelb, who happens to be a national radio voice, is also from this region and understood the story. It's not like if he's on CBS Sports Radio and the host is maybe DA might not ask him that because he's not from the area and doesn't understand that this. You don't think
it was a big enough story that anybody who hosts on CBS?
Yeah, but I mean, it was so far removed.
And Gelb went to school here. He's not from here.
Well, right. What I'm saying he's at least, but I'm going to say he worked in this area. I mean, did the Eagles pre or post at one point? I mean, so he at least had connection to the Eagles to know that was a big time story that it might make some headlines. So if you want to say he knew it might make headlines because he worked here and he knew it, he knew enough to ask the question. If there's a host who's not from here, didn't work here, he might have said, that ship has sailed. That thing's way over with. Why would I even bring that back up? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, then I think there's social media part of it. I mean, Kadarius Toney's in some hot water, claiming he got hacked, doing a back and forth with Giants fans. I think some of these guys, some of the corners, did you see Darius Slay talking that, the corners are going after each other and Darius is trying to play peacemaker. CJ Gardner-Johnson was involved with that. D-backs as a whole. I think social media has impacted this a lot with the players. I mean, they see some of this and all of a sudden, maybe in a weak moment, they take their phone and say something they probably shouldn't say. And coaches are probably drives them crazy. I just don't think organization versus organization. I don't think there's a feud between the 49ers and the Eagles. I don't.
No, not the teams. I agree with that. It'll be a fan generated back and forth that may become juvenile the week leading up to the game. Yes. I mean, you might say Eagles, Cowboys, the organizations that they
want to beat each other.
They want to beat each other, but I don't think they have a disdain
I don't think
for each other. But the fans get, loopy during the week. Look, with Debo Samuel, if he just answered the question.
But I guess what I was trying to say, Mike, is there are legitimate rivalries. Eagles, Cowboys, legitimate rivalry. Ravens, Steelers might be the best rivalry in pro football right now. They legit want to beat each other. And it generally deals with divisions for obvious reasons. Anytime you're in the NFC Championship game, it's going to be big in that ecosystem.
But every now and then you get I don't want to say a manufactured, but one kind of manifests out of when Brady and the Patriots were playing Peyton Manning and the Colts. It seemed like every single year, even though they only played once, it seemed like that game had more to it. And it grew based on the competitiveness of the teams of that era at that time. I don't know, were Philly and San Francisco going to play each other on the schedule every year for the next, 6 out of 7 or something like
develop.
That.
Yeah,
right.
Might develop. Yeah.
Oh, I think it'll be fast developing. I'll go this far. If the 49ers come in to the link in week 12 and win that game, and then the two teams meet again in the playoffs this year, Could be in Santa Clara, could be here in Philadelphia. Oh, shoot, that'll be a rivalry game. After what happened last year, if the 49ers come in and beat the Eagles in their house in the regular season, Brock Purdy gets the better of Jalen Hurts. Oh, the rivalry is absolutely
And I think,
on fire.
the Cowboys and 49ers back in the day had a little bit of a rivalry because they kept playing each other and they were good. But those types of rivalries have to be dependent on being really good, as Jody's saying. The 49ers have to be good again. The Eagles have to be good again. They have to meet in the NFC Championship game. And maybe that kind of rivalry starts to manifest, even the divisional round game. But it's got to be a big game. It's got to be a big game for it to sort of ignite. Even with the regular season game.
Well, I'll ask both you guys. Week 13, game number 12. Is it going to be a big game? Will they both be on top of their divisions at that point? Will we be debating this game could decide who gets home field advantage in the NFC Championship game? I know we're months away from it. You got to play those first 11 games, but we can project how big a game is that game going to be when it gets here on the schedule.
Yeah, and at that point, it should be a big game. And then that's the start of the Eagles having a brutal stretch of games for them. It's like San Francisco, Dallas, Buffalo. They play a bunch right in a row right there, starting at that spot. So, yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm imagining the game will be is that a 4:05 game?
4:25,
I think
yeah.
It's 4:25.
All right, so, yeah, it's the national, Fox afternoon game. I would imagine – I'm going to get that email from the Fox PR guy saying, hey, can you give me a couple of calls with some crazy Eagle fans so we can do a montage before the game that has, that Deebo Samuel, he's they're going to play this up the whole, leading into that game. I would imagine that will be the storyline.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt, but that's what I was kind of getting at, the manufactured part of it. That to me is, different than legitimate angst between the organizations. And maybe, I always go back to the Sixers Celtics rivalry when I was young and Julius Erving is strangling Larry Bird, and maybe those kind of rivalries don't exist anymore when there was legitimate angst between teams and organizations. But I think if they do, it's generally born out of sort of being close all the time. And in other words, the Cowboys are on the schedule twice. If they're good, those games are going to be important every single year, and to a lesser extent because it hasn't happened recently because the Eagles have dominated the Giants. But when the Giants were good in the Parcells years, that was huge. When the then Redskins were good and Joe Gibbs, it's been a long time, that was a big deal. And it was born out of that familiarity of constantly seeing each other. You got to be good for that, as you mentioned with the Colts and the Pats. Well, they kept matching up because they were always in first place. So they were always playing the first place schedule. So they got matched up a lot in the regular season. And then they would see each other in the playoffs because they were both so good and in the same conference.
The most manufactured rivalry, Phillies Mets. The Phillies and the Mets for the first 40 years of the Mets' existence from 1961, 2001, they were never good at the same time. Either the Phillies were good and the Mets stunk, or the Mets were good and the Phillies. Oh, great rivalry, Mets and Phillies. No, it wasn't. They were never both good at the same time. Now, over the last 15 years or so, there have been a couple of
what happens with Mets Phillies when the Phillies are bad, the Mets fans can come down and they're good. They can buy a bunch of tickets, and there's a bunch of Mets fans, and vice versa. If the Phillies are good and the Mets are bad, the Phillies fans can go up there and take over that stadium, whether it's Shea or Citibank or whatever the heck they call Citibank now. So that kind of, but again, that's fan driven. That's fan driven.
It's not with the players. There just hasn't been that kind of a competition. But the competition is ready for this year. All right, Mike Gill, will you tonight? What do you do on Wednesday nights usually? You got a personal appearance gig. You got a show you always watch. What is Mike coaching on Wednesday? You always got Wednesday night games. What do you do on Wednesday nights?
Tonight we're practicing. But generally on a Wednesday night, I'm relaxing, just kind of saying, all right, I'm relaxing like during the football season, like Wednesday, there's nothing happening. It's kind of your night in the middle of the week. But tonight, yes, I have practice.
All right. So here's once practice is over and done with, the sun's you got to play on a lighted field. Do you practice?
Yeah, we got great lights down here. I have an app on my phone that controls the lights. We turn them on, turn them off for my house.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
Technology.
Right. So you
got to keep hydrated today. Keep those kids hydrated.
93 down the shore today.
Yeah. It's going to be
It's
hot.
going to be hotter even up here. 90.
Nice and cool out. I'm outside right now. It's not bad.
It's still early. It's going to get hot as the day goes on. Here's the reason why I asked you what you do on Wednesdays. Will you at any point be streaming into Netflix? Netflix has got this
the quarterback show
documentary on quarterbacks.
Is that coming out today? That looks good. I saw the clips,
tonight they put a little teaser out on it, and it's going to be released tonight. I don't know how long I tried to look it up. I don't know how long it's going to run. I don't know how they're breaking it down into how many different segments. Marcus Mariota is part of it. Mahomes, Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. Does Marcus Mariota pique your interest enough to be tuned to Netflix when Mike Gill calls his night out?
He doesn't pique my interest. He's a pretty boring guy from what I gather. I don't know why they picked him. He doesn't seem like he's got like this great, pizzazz. I might be wrong when I see it, but I have seen the trailer stuff and it looks really, really insightful and really good. I think it's Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions who are doing this. So I'm imagining, with Peyton Manning behind it and the quarterback position, they're going to really get a lot of good stuff inside the minds of these quarterbacks. So yeah, I'm intrigued. It almost feels, we're in the middle of the summer, the All-Star game. It's the one night where there's nothing going on. Played last night, this is that one night where there's like no sporting events. You might have a summer league basketball game here or there, but this almost feels like when The Last Dance came on during COVID. This is all there is. Not quite to that level, but this will probably be something that a lot of sports fans are zoning in on with interest because, you had Michael Jordan there and the Bulls and Peyton Manning's behind this one, and you got Patrick Mahomes, who I think a lot of people are kind of drawn to. The other guys, maybe not as much, but I think with Manning running it and Mahomes being kind of the feature, and for what I saw, he was a lot more in the video than everybody else. So I would assume they maybe do a lot heavier Mahomes than they do Mariota.
If you're going to tease, you're going to tease Mahomes.
Until he gets benched.
That's good television production. You're not going to tease Mariota and Cousins when you've got Mahomes as part of it.
Right.
I think Marcus will play up when he gets benched. I think it's sort of I think what they're trying to do is show, the top, Mahomes winning the Super Bowl, sort of the middle, Cousins,
right,
and then sort of the guy who's struggling and gets benched, and sort of that dichotomy. But who knows? Yeah, I think the newness is exciting. We had Bob Angelo on yesterday. He was worked for NFL Films, won 21 Emmys, was ground floor on Hard Knocks when that started way back in the day. Now everybody's used to Hard Knocks. It's the same. Jody's a big fan. I've kind of petered off. And one of the reasons I have is because it's the same damn thing. It's like one of those reality shows. You're a reality show guy, Mike. I like Storage Wars for about a week. And then I realized, every show is exactly the same. And then it just gets a little bit tiring. And that's how I kind of feel with Hard Knocks. This quarterback thing is new. I think people are going to get excited by it.
Well, the Hard Knocks on that front, the Hard Knocks is the HBO. There's other versions of it now that nobody even talks about. Like you have the midseason one they had with the Cardinals. They did the one with the Eagles a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
that I don't know Amazon Prime that I don't know that anybody picked up on. And they're well produced. They're well done. I do agree. I was used to be Hard Knocks. I've kind of just fallen off a little bit because it does seem a little monotonous, and it seems that, you know, they're picking some random special teamer and taking you to his house, and he's eating cereal in an apartment that's really small, and it's, how was practice day? It's tough. It's tough. Yeah. I didn't think it was going to be like this. And then the guy gets cut the next episode. It's like, all right, I could have produced that show.
Yeah.
I still think it's well done, and maybe it's the timing of it because football's back. And you're into it because the season's about to start. That's why I like Hard Knocks every single time. And be careful what you say about Marcus Mariota. We're one Jalen Hurts high ankle sprain from the Eagles Super Bowl hopes resting on the right shoulder of Marcus Mariota. Do not forget that.
Yesterday, Jody, so we had our listeners give us text in NFL hot takes, right? So one was
I'm excited for this.
The Niners will win 9 games and sneak into the playoffs and get knocked out. The quarterback carousel will finally catch up to them.
What does that mean?
Well, they've been
quarterback
going
carousel. What?
No, carousel. That they keep switching. You know,
that
they've
had carousel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Carousel. Well, I think, you know, if Brock Purdy isn't ready for week 1, and Sam Darnold, I think, would win the job. And if he struggles, I don't think it's a carousel. I don't think it's an issue. I think the issue becomes if they're 5-0 or 4-1, and then Brock Purdy's cleared. All right, what do you do at that point? That's the difficult decision. Like, if you're losing games, it's not a difficult decision.
You don't think he's going to be ready to start week 1?
I don't. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but UCL surgery, we have a history with it. It's a significant injury, and he got hurt late January. And if you do the math, that's not. It would be unique if he were able to come back that quickly.
Yeah, but we've also found out this past year there are levels of UCL surgeries. Bryce Harper was back in 5 months. Now, I know he's not throwing. He's just batting.
He's not throwing. This is a quarterback.
Understood, but there are different levels of how much you need to repair the UCLA when you do it. I'm with you, John. I don't know. But what they're reporting out in San Francisco is that he's already throwing lightly. A little different when you get in an NFL game by week number 1, but at least the fact that he's throwing is, I think, a good sign if you're a Purdy guy, which you know I am. But here's what I don't understand about you, Johnny Mac. Didn't you pick the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl last year?
I did.
And
I was close.
You thought the quarterback that was going to get them there was who?
Trey Lance.
And now you think Sam Darnold's going to start over Trey Lance? What did Trey Lance do wrong that you fell out of love with Trey Lance?
Well, it's not that I'm not there. I can't tell. My whole thought with Trey Lance was not about Trey Lance's upside. I mean, the guy barely played in college. He played at a lower level. My whole point was Jimmy Garoppolo stinks, and they're so good with Jimmy Garoppolo. If he's a little bit better, just a little bit better, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Turned out they got very close. Quarterback wasn't Trey Lance. It ended up being Brock Purdy, who was better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Buddy, I was the exact opposite. I thought with Lance they would stink. And once they went to Garoppolo, then I gave them credence not because I think Garoppolo is great, but that he's a winner. And he just, for whatever reason, I felt the team believed in him more, but I didn't really trust Lance. And then, the whole Trey Lance thing, for an organization of that magnitude, well prepared, well run, all that stuff, to make the decision they did, that trade that they made to get that kid is unbelievable to me. And the fact that there's still a team that people think can win a Super Bowl after giving up what they gave up to get a player who doesn't even help them is pretty amazing.
Well, and that's part of my thought process with Sam Darnold in the fact that, all right, we know Sam's got the physical gifts to play in this league. Obviously, it hasn't, as Jody knows, it hasn't worked out. Um, and maybe it won't work out in San Francisco. Um, but Kyle Shanahan's got a lot of John Gruden in him. I say it all the time. And John Lynch, it's tough for him because he's going to fall in love with quarterbacks and he's going to fall out of love with quarterbacks. I've said from the start, if it were me, I have to make this clear, I would go with Trey Lance. I would say this is a perfect opportunity. I've mentioned this to you a couple times, Jody. This is a perfect opportunity because you have an excuse with Brock Purdy's injury. You have an excuse to say, well, Brock's not ready. And then you throw out Trey Lance, which is great for John Lynch because you're the one who traded to go up and get him, and great for the organization. You got 4 or 5 games, whatever, to see, can this kid play? If he can't play, you pull the plug and you go to Brock Purdy when he's ready. I don't think they're going to do that. That's what I would do.
You think that Shanahan's already not only not enthused, but completely fallen out of love with Trey Lance?
He's exactly like John Gruden. I mean, he could fall in love and fall out of love in the same week. He is. I always say I never saw a guy, an offensive guy, completely pull the plug on a quarterback in the middle of a Super Bowl run. He pulled the plug on Jimmy Garoppolo, and they made the Super Bowl, and you could see the play. Go back to the divisional round. He threw an interception to Eric Kendricks in the divisional round. He completely pulled the plug on the passing game, just ran the football and ran it to the Super Bowl and almost won the Super Bowl. They outplayed Kansas City for 3 quarters, but then Kansas City got hot, they got ahead, and they couldn't throw the ball because Jimmy Garoppolo was shot, both mentally, and he's just not very good. Kyle Shanahan falls in and out. He's John Gruden reincarnated.
Now, I wasn't a Trey Lance fan when they drafted him because of the things you stated earlier, John. Played at a lesser level, didn't play all that much, thought it was a major projection reach. And as Gil pointed out, the amount that they paid for him, I was like, are you kidding me? You're paying this much to move up and get a guy. He was an unknown. He was a question mark. And to use that kind of equity to get a question mark, I just didn't understand. But I'll now say this in defense of Trey Lance. Guy's been hurt. He hasn't played.
No, I agree. It's
at
a
least
perfect
with Jimmy
opportunity.
Garoppolo, as you were pointing out, John, there were issues. You saw it on the field. Jimmy would throw a bad pick at a bad time that make you pull your hair out. Trey Lance hadn't even done that yet. He hadn't got the chance.
I guess the question becomes, Trey Lance really hasn't played a full season of any level of football. Forget the level of it for almost 3 years now. I mean, he had the one game, the COVID year. They manufactured one game for him just so he could play a game. So that season he didn't do anything. Last year he didn't play. I mean, when was the last time? Like Deshaun Watson, who was really good, he looked terrible last year after sitting out a whole year. So is Trey Lance going to come back on the field after sitting out, what's this now, his 3rd year in a row that he hasn't played any football? And just all of a sudden,
I think it's a golden opportunity to see if he can play because you have the excuse built in and that Brock's not ready. And then if he can't play, as you said, Mike, which is probably the betting odds, because not only has he not proven he can play, but he's had to sit out for so long, then you just go back to Purdy. It's a perfect situation for John Lynch. And by the way, people in San Francisco, and I don't know because I'm not there, but there have been a number of reports, if you guys remember, when they made that trade to go up for Mac Jones. And they started to waver, start to think he didn't have that top tier skill set that he should be at the top of the draft. And they went more talk themselves into, as Jody says, the projection. They probably made a mistake. They probably should have drafted Mac Jones.
The last time he played.
No. They should have drafted Justin Fields, who is also still available.
Well,
I know one talk show host who said he's the second best quarterback in the draft behind only Trey Lance. That's
I'm just telling you, I didn't hear anything about Justin Fields. I heard, that's not even the same year. Yeah, what are we talking about?
Yeah, he was. Mac Jones was in with Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
All four of them in the same draft.
So Mac Jones.
And my boy up in New Jersey with the great arm talent will be sitting on the bench, keeping Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, the Eagles. By the way, the Eagles.
Zach Wilson was the second pick. Yes,
the Eagles loved Zach Wilson. Loved Zach Wilson. I hate to break that to Eagles fans. They loved the player, but they knew they couldn't get him. But in the case of the 49ers, it was Mac Jones. I never heard anything about Justin Fields.
Lance last played a 16-game schedule in 2019. Is the last time he's played any significant football.
2019, and not won 16 games.
No, he played 16 games. Listen to the numbers, though, Jody. He was 16-0. He threw 28 touchdowns.
What high school was he in?
This was at North Dakota.
They played 16 games.
He played in they play
the playoffs. So yeah, they got a longer schedule. If you keep winning, they got a longer schedule.
He was 16-0. He completed 67% of his passes. He threw 28 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, and he ran for 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns. So that's the only season that he has played since 2019. That's it. That's all he's done. He played one game the next year. He was 15 of 30. He completed 50% of his passes in that game.
And then shut it down. He played one game and said, all right, that's it. I'm done.
Well, they made a game for him. They put a game on the schedules just so he could play one game. That was it.
Which I thought was ridiculous. All right. Are you sure you didn't, that season, one of those 16 games, wasn't that a Mike Gill traveling team went out to North Dakota to take on?
One of the teams, I didn't coach the team, but one of the teams from our league played in a World Series out in North Dakota a couple of years ago.
Okay. And probably against Trey Lance, and we didn't even know.
He might have been. Actually, Trey Lance is from Minnesota.
Yeah, Marshall, Minnesota. There's a lot of talk at the combine this year of Kyle Shanahan trading for Kirk Cousins, because he's always loved Kirk Cousins, dating back to their days in Washington, and flipping that and trying to trade Trey Lance back home. Too difficult from Kirk's money perspective and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's already people starting to talk about, because Cousins is a lame duck, and they're already trying to talk about him going to San Francisco again next year.
Not happening.
It comes up every year.
Kyle Shanahan, whether he's in love or not, and I think he is pretty much in love, Brock Purdy's going to be his quarterback for years to come. Sorry, Kirk. Don't think the 49ers will be interested in you this offseason. Mike Gill, always a pleasure, brother. Stay indoors, stay in the air conditioning as long as you can. If you got to go out and practice in the heat tonight, you keep it.
Hydrate.
Chilly in that studio yours down there on the Sports Bash?
Freezing, man. Freezing.
Nice. Good for you. Hey, he's going to have to put on long sleeves to do his radio show today. Be listening 97.3, the Sports Bash on ESPN. If you're heading down the shore, Mike Gill, always a pleasure. Thank you much.
See you guys.
Thanks, Mike.
He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. That makes us Mac and Mac. Gill, at times when we get Gill on, we get off on tangents, which is that's because it's three guys sitting around just shooting the breeze about football/sports. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for staying streamed in. We still got an hour to go. We got my guy, the Prince of Darkness, Bob Groats, coming up next hour. Still plenty to come here on Birch 365.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Mac guys here on Birds 365, the countdown to Eagles camp, 12 days and counting. Yes, Eagle football will be here. And while Johnny Mac may not have his Eagle schedule ready yet, I'm talking about practices and the like, is John frozen up? Perhaps he is, because, oh no, there he is. He's moving again now. John might not have his schedule yet for when the Eagles' first practice is going to be, what time of day, how long they're going to have. One thing that I know he's got the schedule already locked in for is Sunday, September 10th, which is the first Eagle game of the season in New England versus the Patriots, 4:25, John's favorite starting time.
Well, it's not my most hated starting time.
That's true. Anything that's not Sunday at 1, John looks down his nose at. Can't say I blame him. But they've got a late afternoon game against the Patriots. And have the Eagles, I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. They have not given out full season media credentials to anybody yet, have they?
No.
Yeah. You'll get those, the week before or something like that?
It depends on the year and how backed up they are. Sometimes we get them the first day of training camp, but more often it's later in the summer.
Here's the reason why I bring it up. I did see this over the last couple of days. The most expensive in-season single game ticket to a National Football League game this year is Eagles Patriots week 1. More than 49ers Eagles that we talked about earlier, game 12, week 13 showdown. Eagles Cowboys in Dallas or in Philadelphia. No. The most expensive ticket as of right now on the secondary market, lowest ticket price available, is the Eagles and the Patriots, because they're going to have this little side function. They're saying they're going to honor that guy who used to play quarterback for the Patriots. It's Tom Brady Day in New England. So for any of you Eagle fans out there, maybe John McMullen could be bought. Maybe he'd sell you his Eagle credential for that day.
It's not going to work too well because it might work for about 10 minutes, and then it would get taken away from the person I sold it to, and it would get taken away from me as well. So, yeah, it wouldn't.
You're not going to be looking to make a quick profit that
Nah,
day, huh?
Even if I was, it wouldn't be possible. But I got that same email.
Whoa! Time out, Philadelphia. Why wouldn't it be possible? I know it's got your picture on it, so the person would have to skillfully make sure that it's not turned one way.
I feel bad for that person. There's a lot of security people on the aspects where you have to go. So, you might be able to get away with it for a quarter or two, but you better have to lay low.
I'm not understanding this. How would they catch up with you over time? Either you get in or you don't get in. I think they catch up to you at the gate, and either they'd figure it out and get the hell out of here and throw you out of here, or once you were in, I figure you're fine. Why do you think over time they would catch you?
Well, you'd have to sit in the press box where everybody knows everybody.
Around you go walking around the stadium. The security's not going to stop you if you got a press credential. If you're
I guess you could walk around the stadium.
Yeah,
if you
wouldn't have a seat, an assigned seat, correct?
If you want to be tremendously uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could do that, but this is a strange conversation.
Yeah, Bob Groats would rat whoever it is out if they were sitting in John McMullen's seat. He'd go over and spill coffee on him or something.
Yeah, I got that same thing. Now, who's the soccer player that went to Miami? Forgive my famous soccer player.
Oh yeah, he's making his debut. Jesus, I'm not a soccer guy either. What?
I wish Kevin Kincaid was here. I should know this.
Not Ronaldo.
Messi.
Lionel Messi.
Now, when that's like a snap, we talked about snapshots with the salary cap. That was a snapshot of that particular day, Eagles Patriots. When Messi came and it became clear he was going to play with whatever
Miami.
Yeah, whatever the Miami team is called. It's like Inter FC or something. I don't know, but they were over $1,000 at when he first, and then it kind of teetered down to wherever it was, 300.
Low 300s. Eagles is close to $400.
Went up to 400 at that particular time. It might be different today to get in. It might be up. It might be down. All that stuff is kind of a snapshot on the day. But Messi at one point, his debut was over 1,000, and then it came down. That's kind of my point.
Yeah, I saw this 2 or 3 days ago. The most expensive in-season, cheapest you can get in the secondary market, individual game in the next 12 months was Eagles Patriots 1, Messi's debut in Miami number 2.
Yeah, but that's if you got the same press release, and I think you did. If you read it, you'll see they explain that Messi's debut at one point was trending over $1,000,
right?
And then it came down to where it was at that point. Same thing could happen to the Eagles Patriots. It could come down. It could go up, though. So you never know with these types of things. And that's why I was saying that type of thing is just a snapshot on that particular day or whenever they're doing it. And on that particular day, Eagles Patriots home opener. But yeah, it's not going to go down too much because of Tom Brady, because it's Tom Brady day. Might Messi's debut go back in front of it? It might, depending. Miami's a very rich area. Obviously, there's a lot of people with the means to pay that type of nonsense. So I'm just saying, but it's a big game. It's a big game. But whether it's first, second, third, fourth on a particular day, I don't think is as important, but it's a big game, and it's a big game because it's not only the home opener, but Tom Brady Day.
Right. And the thing that I think will be very interesting to watch, and you'll be there, you'll be able to judge in stadium. I'll have to judge on TV. We know how well Eagle Nation travels. They are one of the best traveling fan bases in the National Football League. They match up against absolutely anybody. Eagle fans are willing to pay to go on the road, to root for their team. They like the experience of doing it out of town. You've been going to stadiums forever. I go to enough games over the last 30 years to know which are the good traveling fan bases. Eagles can be matched up against anybody. I don't think there are going to be a lot of Eagle fans in that house that day, John. I think the Patriot fans, that's why the number is almost $400, because the Patriot fans aren't making the tickets available. There are so few available, you can ask for an outrageous price because there's just not a secondary market being built up, because Patriot fans are holding on to their tickets because they want to go see their guy, Tom Brady, be honored, which means Eagle fans are not going to be in the building. We've seen too many Eagle take over the stadium days over the last couple of years. Not happening in New England opening day this year.
No, I agree. If you go back to last year, if you remember, I was stunned how few Eagles fans were in Detroit, and there was nothing going on other than the home opener for what had been.
That would be incorrect. You know why that place was packed with Lion fans that day, John McMullen? 2 words: hard knocks.
All right.
The Lion fans were into it. They were all pumped up because they believed
they were all pumped up.
Hard knocks.
And maybe Hard Knocks helped them get pumped up. But they were at that. My point is, they were all pumped up. And week 1, typically Lions fans, they can't give their tickets away fast enough. But for one game, they were like, nope, I'm going to go to this game. And Eagles fans couldn't get in. I was stunned how few Eagles fans there were at that particular game. And as the season went on, there were a bunch of stadiums Eagles fans took over.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't take over week 1. It's tough to take over in the home opener. It really is. In any season. You had a good team, and even though New England hasn't been as good recently, they have a history of being a good team, obviously. And then Tom Brady Day on top of it. Yeah, it's not going to be a lot of Eagles fans there.
And I'm just saying that if the Eagles wanted to jump in and volunteer to do Hard Knocks, you get a big buzz, work for the not that the Eagles need any help. So
yeah, they don't need a buzz. The Lions need a buzz.
You saw the buzz work for the Detroit Lions last year, could work for the Jeffrey Lurie. Are you listening? You could get a major solid you owe me one favor in the back pocket with Roger Goodell if you called him today and said, yeah, go ahead, put us in for Hard Knocks.
By the way, Jody, I'm surprised we haven't gotten to our top 25, Ed and I's top 25, because
shoot, yeah, I never did that.
Because
we got to number 5. I apologize for that. I got it right here, but it's my bad.
I thought we got to 4. That's why
we got to 5 yesterday. We broke the top 5 yesterday. Who do you guys have at number 4?
And I knew this day was coming. That's why. And I knew I was going to get a lot of shit for number 4, which is absurd.
I know where you're going. Okay. I didn't look it up, but I know where you're going by the way you describe it.
Yeah. And sure enough, I got a lot of shit, but number 4 is Jalen Hurts, the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles.
And please explain.
I'm interested.
Giving you shit as to why there's a difference, because a lot of people have these lists, and some call it most important. You specifically labeled it top 25. In your mind and Ed's mind, combining the 2 lists, there was a different definition you
and I blame Ed. I blame Ed because it's my reason he's number 4. Ed had him at number 2. I had him at number 5. And he ended up at number 4 overall. I tried to explain this, but people don't get it, man. I mean, if you want to talk about the most impactful, Dave Zangaro does this list for NBC Sports Philadelphia. That's easy. Nothing against Dave. the most impactful player on every single football team is the starting quarterback, good or bad, 1 through 32. You know, you look at it from a draft perspective, whether it's we talked about Marcus Mariota, whether it's the Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota year, they weren't the best players in the draft, but they went 1-2. Whether it was the Jared Goff, Carson Wentz year, they weren't the best players in the draft, but they went 1-2. What we're just talking about, and I conflated, and thanks for correcting me, I conflated a couple drafts there. Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he belonged at the top of the draft, but then it was Zach Wilson and Trey Lance at 2 and 3. They didn't deserve to be at 2 and 3. And by the way, have you looked at that draft, the players in that stinking draft? My God, that draft was good. It's very early in the process, and teams are picking Zach Wilson and Trey Lance 2 and 3. I go back to Bill Belichick, how I explain this list. Do your job. Who does their job at the highest level? If you look at it that way, people say, I disrespect Jalen Hurts. You're disrespecting the certain players
1, 2,
who I
3,
can't
4,
name.
the guys that you have in slots ahead.
You are tremendously, because I had a difficult time with 4 and 5, and I could have put Jalen ahead of Hassan Reddick. Those were 4 and 5 on our list, so I can say that. The top 3, that's sort of where the fall off was for me, Jody. That's where the fall off was, from 3 to 4. And then when you're looking at the trades, those three guys, you can't look at me as a football person and say,
I can.
Do your job, and say he does it at a higher level than those 3. Doesn't mean he doesn't do his job at a high level.
I know you don't want to give it away, but you went down this road, so now I got to debate you on it. I take it you have A.J. Brown 3.
Well, I can't say that, but I'll do the alphabetical order one.
Okay, please.
A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce, right. Those are your top 3 as they should be. You're telling me A.J. Brown is that much better at wide receiver than Jalen Hurts is at quarterback?
I'm saying he's better at he's a better wide receiver. He's
what
better.
You just
at
said was
job.
There was a big gap between 3 and 4.
Yes,
he's got to be one of those. So you're saying A.J. Brown is that much better a wide receiver than Jalen Hurts is a quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah,
A.J. Brown, and I go back. A.J. Brown is 6'1" and 226 pounds, runs 4.4 in the 40. He was the best slant receiver in football, according to Pro Football Focus. He was the second best go route receiver in football, that's a 6'1", 226 guy who can beat you every way under the sun. He can beat you short. He can beat you long. He's the best. He's got Randy Moss like late.
All right,
hands.
so where would you rank A.J. Brown in the wide receivers in the National Football League
Top
right now?
5. To me, it would go Jefferson, Adams, and then he's in the conversation. I don't get to see Jamar Chase enough. I just get to hear the reputation. He drops the football a little bit too much for me. But most scouts would say Jamar Chase. And then you have Tyreek Hill, who I think is splashier, but I think AJ is a better all-around receiver. I would say he's in the conversation. The only 2 I would put ahead of him definitively right now are Jefferson and Adams. That's it.
All right, and I would put Tyreek Hill ahead of him, and I think if you're looking at full-time career, last year AJ had a better year, but I think Stephon Diggs would be ahead of him too. So, yeah, I got him at number 5. I got Jalen as a top 5 quarterback.
Well, all right, but you seem, and correct me if I'm wrong, you seem to be having a problem with my declaration that the top three are ahead of number 4.
Big drop off between 3 and
Yes.
4 is what I have a problem with. Yeah.
You, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have a problem. You don't think it's disrespectful to say A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson, and Jason Kelsey are better football players than Jalen Hurts.
With the way that you've constructed your list, yeah, no, I got no problem with it. If you want to put Jalen Hurts in at number 4, I just had a problem with big drop off from 3 to 4.
That is not an insult to put Jalen Hurts at number 4 on what might be the best roster.
Not the way that you guys
that
you explained your line of thinking. Absolutely viable to put him at number 4.
And all I got, and I knew I was going to get it, Jody. I knew I was going to get it. Well, the position is so impactful. That's not my list.
Right.
Guess what?
You're defining your list differently. Absolutely.
If Jalen Hurts gets hurt tomorrow, and I hope he doesn't, the most important player on the Philadelphia Eagles becomes Marcus Mariota.
Correct.
He's not the best player, but he's the most important. So don't give me position, because every quarterback, if you go to the Rams, the greatest defensive player of this generation was never the most important player on the Rams. It was either Jared Goff or Matthew Stafford were more important than Aaron Donald. If you want to go, I just said Justin Jefferson. He was the offensive player of the year last year. Kirk Cousins is more important to the Vikings. The defensive player of the year was Nick Bosa. Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, insert name, is more important to the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
That's easy. The quarterback's the most important. Who's the best at their particular jobs? And to me, by the way, number 1 was easy. And I can't give it away, but it was easy.
Yeah, I think your number 1 is probably my number 2, because I put my list together. As you mentioned, Dave Zangaro, NBC Sports, I've been running it down every day. They definitively defined it as important, which put that added emphasis on the quarterback position with the way the game is played in the National Football League these days. Your list seems to me more to be like, well, where does he rank in his positional group against the other guys who play the same position he does in the National Football League? And if he is that highly ranked in any position, in your list, all positions created equal, that left tackles are the same as right guards, are the same as quarterbacks, is the same as wide receivers. It's a position, and the actual impact that it can have on a game, you're not factoring in at all. With my list, I think I'm somewhere in the middle, because I think if you look at the NBC Sports, you see, oh, yeah, there's a big lean toward quarterback, because in a given game, quarterback has that much more of an effect on the game. You guys tried to do it cut and dry. Dave did it with, oh, yeah, I'm going to look at it as the way it affects a game, who has more impact because of the position they play. I tried to find a middle ground there with the way I did my list. I don't just have a hard and fast separation between positions where they're all created equal, but I'm not just going to all the quarterbacks got to be number 1 because you're the quarterback. I actually think the quarterback earned it this year, and with my leaning, it all comes down to the way that you wanted to put the list together and how you defined it. And I understand your definition of how you and Ed did it. I just don't think there's that big a drop off between number 3 and number 4.
And that's fine. That you can make an argument for. But yeah, I call it Bill Belichick rules. I say, do your job. Who does their job the best? What is their job, and who does it at the highest level? That's my number 1. And I think Jalen being 4 is right where he should be. Again, I wavered between him and Hassan Reddick. But the top 3, I didn't waver. And that's, maybe I stated it a little bit too harshly, but I didn't waver on the top 3. It wasn't difficult. The top 3 wasn't difficult. And Zander, Bob Groats, letting Zander know, says the link is not working for him. So if you can try to forward him another link, or
and we'll get
yeah.
Groats involved in this conversation as well, and let him put how he would define it. John and Ed had their definition. I kind of got my definition. Others have a different definition. This is what we do during the summer. We come up with lists until the Eagles actually get back out there on the field. Where I'm really upset with John and Ed's list is how they just left out the punter on an all-important
I
list.
put the kicker on there, though, and that was difficult for me because it's not easy. Like, how do you put a kicker on the list of best football players? And that's why, I said, all right, well, what's his job? And Jake Elliott does it at a really high level. Didn't have that difficulty.
Yeah, I think you disrespected him at number 21. I had him all the way up at number 20. I don't know what you guys were thinking on that one. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We are efforting getting the correct link, a working link to Bob Groats. And oh, by the way, without knowing, 98% sure that it was Groats.
It's probably Groats' fault.
Yeah, do you think it's Zander or Groats? Who do you think screwed this one up?
I'm going 95% Groats.
I'm 98% Groats. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We're going to take a quick timeout, come back, see if we are joined by the Prince of Darkness himself, Bob Groats from the Delco Times. Hopefully we get him up next here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, up, up.
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Mac guys here with you on Birds 365. Once again, we take you into the mobile car of Bob Groats. Always
The
love
mobile office, Bob. What do we got to drink, Bob? I see you opening something. Just water. You got to stay hydrated. Yeah.
Yeah. Deer Park.
Hot one. It's a hot one today.
Not my favorite. My favorite is you know what it is, right?
Voss water. I'm going Voss for you. I'm going.
No, I'm a Perrier. I'm a Perrier.
I should have known that. Yes, Perrier. I should have known that. I told you it was classy, though. I told you it was classy.
Yeah.
Last time you're on, you had like $80 deodorant. We looked it up on. Online.
You know what? I don't recommend that. I went through that fast.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But you probably got some good response and reaction from that. But
I'm not so sure about that. How are you guys doing?
Do we really want to go there? And oh, by the way, when I buy water, whichever one is $3 for 32 of them. The cheapest one possible. Water's freaking water.
You got to get
water is water. They suck you guys in and make you pay extra for a label.
I respectfully disagree. Guy. Yeah. I'm a big Brita filter guy. You know what I like to do, Bob? I like to turn on the faucet full bore, go out, go to Eagles practice, and by the time I get home, I got a nice glass of filtered water. That's how long it takes to get through that damn Brita filter.
Hey, Jody, I'd rather drink out of the hose than drink that $3 water. You don't know where you don't know where that came from. It had to be, I'll just drink right out of the hose.
SUCKER. You are a sucker.
Yeah, I'm a sucker too. If I'm drinking bottled water, I'm going Fiji water. If they want to advertise on the show,
do you really think they brought it in from Fiji? Are you buying that crap?
I'm a big Jimmy.
I'm buying that.
Believe that.
I was a big Jimmy Snuka fan, so I like Fiji water.
Water is water.
If you believe Gilligan's Island is based on a true story, you'll love Fiji water.
There you go. Exactly right. And or whatever Bob Groats is. And I got no problem with the water you drink.
Gilligan's Island wasn't a true. I thought that was a documentary. Gilligan's Island.
No such luck. Speaking of documentaries, will you be in front of your computer tonight watching Netflix for the download of the quarterback documentary, which includes the Eagles' Marcus Mariota and his up and down turbulent year last year with the Falcons? Will you be streaming in tonight, Mr. Groats?
No, I'll be watching that Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain, the documentary is coming out. No, it's too early for that. And
wait, time out. Too early. There's no NBA season. You're going back 50 some odd years to watch Wilt. That's not too early. But Marcus Mariota 2 weeks before camp is too early.
Oh, I'd rather watch him than quarterbacks at this point any day of the week. Really, that could be interesting. The quarterback thing, but Wilt was transcendent. And I don't know if you ever got to meet him.
I didn't know a Wilt documentary. I'm interested in that. Where is that going to be on, Bob?
I think that's on Netflix too.
Netflix?
I'm curious to see how it comes out because some of the younger people made it, and their memory goes back to LeBron James. As the all-time great. And that's about it. So this should be interesting. But Wilt, haven't had a chance to meet Wilt when the Sixers retired his number. He was the coolest guy. He was a man of the people, as good as he was. That just a class guy.
By the way, the coolest thing I ever got, the coolest piece of memorabilia I ever got, attending a game when the Sixers, when Josh Harris first bought the Sixers. You remember Adam? I believe Adam Aaron was the president. He's running like 8 AMC theaters now. He was a big marketing guy. One of his first giveaways was they got the court from his 100-point game in Hershey and chopped it up and gave a piece of the court to everybody who came in. Now I don't know if it's real. It might be Fiji water. They might have took a piece of wood out back.
Yeah,
but I'd like to believe it's real. I still have it. I don't usually keep my stuff. I kept that thing. I usually give away our Eagles gifts, as stocking stuffers. That one I'm not giving away, Bob. You think it's real or not?
I don't know. But, I've always wondered this about the 100-point game too. because they
You
took
were there.
another-
Well, you're not going down the road of it
No,
didn't
no,
really
no.
happen.
I gotta
Don't do
say
that
this.
to me, Groats.
I got to get this off my chest.
Harvey
When they kept stats in those days, they didn't do a lot of corrections. What if we only had 98 points?
Come on. I could buy
What
with
if they added
assists.
them up the next day? Then they would have put him out there. He would have got 100. But the
It was
stats
an
were not what
NBA
they were.
game, not a high school game.
Yeah.
Come on.
And it was Harvey
stop.
Pollock. Come on.
That
It was
was
Harvey
a long
Pollock.
time ago.
If it were assists or rebounds, I might buy it. You know, they might pad those stats a little bit, but not points.
Yeah,
Points
you can't
is
make
easy.
a point.
Too
in an
easy
NBA
to
game.
check.
I
There
know
were
it
a
was
lot
up
of-
in Hershey,
No,
and
no,
it wasn't not a mega metropolis like Philadelphia. It was the NBA. Come on, they can't get away with that. All right, we're not going to let you get away with.
I feel better.
I call you the Prince of Darkness because you and I disagreed about how good James Bradbury was last year. And you
my
certainly
God.
raised your opinion over time.
No,
but
no,
not
no.
to the
I watched
level of-
it. I watched the Super Bowl again. He had a terrible game. Oh my God.
Oh, he's back
Oh,
on the hate
Lord.
button.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh, it was bad. And by the way, Dallas Goedert, when I watched that Super Bowl again, Jody, and hey, he was tremendous. He
No, he's a
looked
great
like
player.
the best tight end ever in that game. He made catches that were unbelievable. He made catches that would have made Kelsey look mortal, you know? So I was impressed.
Speaking of, all
But
right.
you were talking about Bradbury? Is he-
Bradbury
Yeah.
and the fact that he resigned here and coming back here again. Are you predicting like the biggest fall off on the face of the earth? Because he got called for a questionable. Not
no.
saying incorrect. I'm just saying questionable
Yeah.
holding penalty that will be forever remembered in his town. Are you expecting that will be a contract we're considering a major faux pas
No.
for Howie Roseman for extending him?
No, it's hard to get cornerbacks that can play every week, and he can do that. And he made some plays too early in the year. No, I think he's a good player. I don't think he's great though. I mean, people were anointing him for sainthood, you know, after a couple games and a few interceptions.
Second team All Pro.
Yeah, right. I don't know what those guys were thinking. I really don't, because I saw the Detroit game from the very beginning. I was like, and I sent John the video, right, John? It was like,
yeah.
if Jared Goff had if he had been accurate like on 10% of those throws, they would have won the game. The Lions would have, but you know, he's a good player. Is he a great player? I'm not. You know how I feel. I'm not gonna like knock him for, you know, the skills that he has, but he has a skill set, and he showed up every week. I mean, what cornerbacks do that now? You know, that's very difficult, and that's a huge deal too.
Speaking of list, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN is currently doing his top 10 list where he talks to, GMs, executives, and scouts, kind of rates people that way. He just did cornerbacks. Number one, Patrick Surtain, who the Eagles were very interested in that year. Very good player. Number two, Jody's Sauce Gardner. Number 5, Darius Slay. James Bradbury, not in the top 10.
And he had a better season than Slay, if you ask me.
Well, he was the All-Pro. Slay was just made the Pro Bowl. They were both pretty good. But where are you on Darius Slay? Because there's a lot of people. He had a great first half, had a kind of faltered in the second half. He's 32. Sometimes that's a signal. NFL people still love him. Where are you with Darius Slay?
I'm surprised he's still with the Eagles. And he almost left.
Yeah, he did.
He was the one who said he almost wound up in Baltimore.
Baltimore, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that he stuck around, and because I think he's, well, flatly, I think he's a little bit in decline right now. So, but they have a chemistry in that locker room, the veterans and stuff. That's a young secondary. There are no safeties really right now. I mean, a lot of youth at safety. So they're going to need every little bit of leadership they have. But I would have gone in another direction. Exactly who I would have taken, I don't know. Maybe that would have had to have been addressed in the draft. But the Eagles, they always have been pass rush first, and they did shell out some money for Slay, but all that money they put out for Slay, has that been worth it? I mean, ask yourself. I'm not so sure. But they put out a ton of money back in the day for Asante Samuel. Was that worth it? I'm not so sure about
Asante would tell you it is.
Can I ask a question of two Eagle beat reporters? Did I miss you guys reporting on the Eagles giving Darius Slay permission to talk to whatever team he wanted to while he was under contract after last season? Did I miss that? Did you guys have that as major reporting, that he had the ability to talk to any team, that Howie Roseman had granted permission to his agent to talk to other teams? Did I miss that?
No, he was under contract with the Eagles. So the whole thought process was, Slay will be back, and then you have to decide between CJ and Bradbury. They wanted to get 2 of the 3 back. And people assumed because Darius was the one under contract, but they were always going to have to redo his contract for 2 reasons. One, it was the last year. It was too high from a cap perspective from the Eagles, and Slay, all the guaranteed money was off. So he wanted a new deal as well. So it was always going to have to be worked out. If you remember, Jody, he said goodbye. The Eagles shipped it at the very end. He and his wife, both of them, said goodbye to Philadelphia. The Eagles were going to sign CJ Gardner-Johnson, and CJ just lost his mind. And once they said, you know what, we're done with CJ, let's go back to Slay. They worked something out.
We all remember the story, but here's my question for both you guys, neither of which ever reported that he had permission to go talk to another team. How was he almost in Baltimore? If the Eagles hadn't granted permission for his agent to talk to another team, he was under contract to the Philadelphia Eagles. And the only way his agent should be talking to the Ravens is if he has permission as he's still under contract. But Darius Slay came out and said, I was almost in Baltimore. Well, how the hell do you know that? Your agent wasn't allowed to be talking to the Ravens
because
at that time.
He was informed he was going to be released. He didn't say goodbye because of
did that include the Eagles giving him permission to talk to other teams?
They were talking to other teams. They had a deal worked out with Baltimore. The Eagles were moving on, and then they shifted gears, and really it had more to do with CJ Gardner-Johnson being a pain in the
I would have signed Gardner-Johnson for sure, but he did say goodbye, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he said he went on, and so did Jennifer
on
Jennifer
social
Slay.
media.
They both said goodbye, and they were both broken up about it. And didn't want to leave.
And the one thing he should have gotten in that new deal too was that a clause that said that the Eagles, under no circumstances, can hire Matt Patricia as a defensive.
Didn't think to get that clause put in there, huh, Bob?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, shame on
Darius Slay. Jalen Hurts was smart. He got the no trade clause.
There are very few no trade clauses.
Jody, that has been very underplayed. I asked Howie Roseman about that right at the press conference when he was talking about it. We got outside the door, and I said, he goes, Bob, you have any questions? You didn't have any questions. And I go, yeah, Howie. I said, if you guys wanted Jalen Hurts to be your centerpiece, your franchise guy, and he wanted to be here so bad, why do you need a no trade clause?
And
I better do this interview with.
That's a status symbol. They're not. They can't trade him if they wanted to trade him.
Hey, did Jalen Hurts start cracking up when you better ask my agent? That was great. I mean, I give him. That has been very underplayed. That no trade clause. I mean, hey, if we love each other so much, I mean, can you imagine getting that put in a marriage license or something?
Now, just let me double check. Throughout the entire contract, is it invoked, or is it just
he's got a no trade clause. Full no trade clause.
Full no trade for the entire deal.
Yeah.
Because the first couple of years, the Eagles couldn't trade him if they wanted to.
Yeah.
$110 million dead cap hit. The way they structured the contract, they can't even think about trading him.
You know what
But
that's
the
like,
last couple
Bob?
years,
You know what
Does
that?
Mahomes have a no trade clause?
Probably, but I'd have to look. Probably. They're all going for that. It's a stat. You know what I compare that to, Bob? In the CBA, you know, when the owners give the players more time off in the off season for more money and more games. And the Eagles are like, all right, you give us a break here. Yeah, no trade. We're not going to trade you anyway. What do we care? And if it does go to shit.
Yeah, but they never did that with Carson Wentz, did they?
No, they didn't. It's the first no trade clause in Eagles history. But the bigger thing is Deshaun Watson. The reason Deshaun Watson wasn't here, well, ultimately, I don't think the Eagles would have paid that contract, but he had a full no trade. So it became a thing in the quarterback world. So it's a status symbol now. Everybody's getting the no trade. It is.
He didn't have to ask for that.
And by the way, all that it allows you to do, if the wheels come off, it allows you to pick your next destination, basically.
Which is a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably going to be picking it anyway, but this gives you absolute authority or absolute.
And
ability.
if you don't want to go to Green Bay or Minnesota because of the shitty weather, yeah, you don't have to go. That's
but they play indoors. Speaking of Minnesota, did you see where Justin Jefferson ran down his top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League?
Disrespect.
One of which was Jalen Hurts, one of the top 5, one of which was not Kirk Cousins. How do you go back into the locker room and say, you're the guy who made me the number 1 wide receiver in the National Football League, but I'm not putting you in the top. I'm raising you up, brother. You ain't raising me up. How's that going to play this year in Minnesota with Justin Jefferson showing up?
They
little
got problems.
disrespect to Kirk Cousins.
And they still can't stop anybody. That defense is as bad as ever. So that should be fun to watch. But can you imagine Justin Jefferson with Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts just opens up the field with that running ability, and you know he's going to get the first down on 4th and short. Imagine, I mean, A.J. Brown was a perfect example. That Super Bowl.
The Eagles have look. I love Jefferson. I think Jefferson's the best receiver in football. But the Eagles have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They don't need a freaking receiver. They're fine at receiver.
I'm just envisioning Justin Jefferson in the Eagles offense and the space that he would have and his ability to get open and get deep and catch the ball. I
Eagles
mean,
fans are never happy.
Have an unbelievable year. Yeah.
I mean, you can't have the best player at every position. If you have a top 5 guy,
Johnny was sitting there. You can't blame Eagle fans for that. They took Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson was available. I'm sorry. You got to eat that.
It's a bad pick.
Until Justin Jefferson retires, you got to eat that. If you're Howie Roseman, sorry, you got to eat that.
Jalen Reagor is, it's a bad pick. Yeah, that's like saying, but there's certain guys. I went through it with Randy Moss. I covered Randy Moss. Randy Moss was the 21st pick in the draft, I believe. 21st. Because he had some off the field issues in college, went to Notre Dame, was going to go to Notre Dame, was going to go to Florida State, got into some trouble, had to go to Marshall. 20 teams had a chance at him. They could all say, oh, we could have had Randy Moss. All right, everybody makes mistakes. They made a mistake on Jalen Reagor. They fixed it. Right now, you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. It took them a while, but they fixed it. They don't need DeAndre Hopkins. They sure as hell don't need Justin Jefferson, who would turn A.J. Brown into a 2, and then Devontae Smith is a 3.
Well, there's no room. I don't know what the argument is. There's not enough balls to go around.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy who should be getting the ball more is Goddard. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, Goddard's a great player. Great player.
All right, let me take both of you guys off again. What about Howie Roseman? Because one of the things I noted at the top of the show is the Eagles are actually in good cap shape going into this season because of the way they structured their contract. They're going to have issues down the road. But right now, right here, snapshot at this time, July 12th, they're in good cap shape. They could sign DeAndre Hopkins if they wanted to. Now, I know there are only so many balls to go around. Here's the reason why. Because I'm telling you right now, mark this one, Zander, Jody Mack is predicting DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Kansas City Chiefs. And come the Super Bowl in January, when it's a rematch between the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles will not be happy that DeAndre Hopkins is on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
And you might be able to get him right here, right now. The Chiefs don't have a lot of cap room. If they get him, it'll solely be because they're a Super Bowl contender. Well, so are the Eagles.
So you sign him to play defense. Is that what you're saying?
City offering. They
you
could
sign
get him.
The guy with the best hands in the league to play, and you're playing defense. Is that no? That doesn't work.
Just
yeah,
keep him off Kansas City. Just remember this when we're doing the show in February, Johnny Mack, and we're looking at the rematch in the Super Bowl, and we're going, yeah, can they really stop DeAndre Hopkins in the slot? Avante Maddox, not Josiah Scott filling in for Avante Maddox against DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, that's a major plus for the Chiefs. Just remember, I brought it up in July. That's all I'm saying.
You get after the quarterback. You just get after the quarterback. Yeah.
You think the field is going to be better this year? The Eagle guys are actually going to be able to get sacks in the Super Bowl.
It depends what the halftime show is, I guess, and how much they have to focus on that.
And oh, by the way, at some point you got to stop the run. I mean, the Chiefs. There's another thing from watching that Super Bowl. They just ran the ball down their throats in the second half.
Did.
And they controlled the clock. I mean,
that's a bigger issue.
More of a knock on that guy. What was his name? The defensive coordinator,
that's Johnny Spud, Coach
Gannon. Who was found guilty of tampering. I forgot what was his name. Oh man, that guy.
Steve Spagnuolo. No, that was the other defensive coordinator. Got ripped in the
man. At some point, you gotta at least try to stop the run. I mean, they're gonna have to figure that out.
No, you don't. Like boxes, baby. Extra guy in coverage. That's what it's about. It's the modern NFL, Bob. Extra guy in coverage, because Jody's got DeAndre Hopkins on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah,
you better be able to cover people.
He had 2 walk-in touchdowns. There was no coverage.
You better be able to cover. That was the bigger issue. I will say DeAndre went the emoji route. People were bringing up Buffalo and ring chasing, and he put bull and then a little poop emoji. So bullshit. I believe he's going to go. I believe he's going to go to New England or Tennessee, whoever gives him the most money. That's my belief on DeAndre.
I thought that all along, but now I'm starting to believe it's going to be somewhere else.
No, if they don't give him money, maybe then he goes ring shopping if he has no other options. But
he hasn't grabbed. Neither one of them's given him the money so far, have they, John?
No. So you never know.
That deal where you get somebody and you want to keep them away from another team. I don't know when that's ever worked out. Someone could give me an example. I mean, that would be interesting.
And Jody's Jets might be zeroing in on Dalvin Cook to keep him away from Miami. See how that shakes out.
Well, he just gets hurt all the time.
Yeah, Cook does have his fair share of injury. All right, last thing for you, Mr. Groats. Running back question. Last year in the Super Bowl, Isaiah Pacheco, big game against the Philadelphia Eagles. He 1,000-yard back this year for Kansas City?
He's hurt right now. So, and they drafted somebody. So, no, I see him splitting the ball. They splitting the touches up. But I think he'll still play a big role.
Will his yardage gained be more than any Philadelphia Eagle running back?
That's a great question. No. I think Kenneth Gainwell is going to have.
You're on the Gainwell bandwagon?
I think he's going to have close to 1,000 yards.
Wow. Save this one. 1,000 yards for Kenny Gainwell. Not even combined. I'll give you the receiving yards on top of it. There's no way he gets 1,000 yards total.
You're going to give me the receiving yards?
Receiving and rushing yards, not 1,000 for Kenny Gainwell.
We got a good bet.
John, you remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Eagles like Kenny Gainwell.
I'll do the
just say
620
that.
show if that happens.
Here's what we're gonna bet. You can pick any one individual 32-ounce bottle of water that you want, as expensive as you want, and whatever that price is, we'll find out what the number is. You got to buy me that many cases of cheapo water. I want to be stocked with water for the entire
cheapo
football
water
season going into 2024.
Bob's going to get that dollar store water.
I'm going to
How
get
about this?
640 bottles of my water as compared to one
How
bottle
about
of
this? How about this?
whatever
I'll do your 5:20
overpriced-
a.m. show. All right.
The 520, yeah, the 520
I'll do your
show.
5:20 a.m. show, or what is it? 8:20. Oh man.
Yeah, sometimes we ask
820's tough. Yeah.
He got outside, he got in a car, and as always,
Hey,
he
sorry
brings-
about that. I don't know what I guess this social media, this Zoom type thing is new to me again. I'm gonna have to get back
man.
in the wagon. Yeah.
Nah.
I
You're
messed that
rock
up.
solid. You're
John-
rock solid as always, Bob. Get a
When-
Perrier. You got to stay hydrated.
Yeah. Oh, I
When-
will. All right,
when
guys.
You, when
always
you
a
get
pleasure.
back to Lincoln Financial Field, John will teach you how to use your computer for
Yeah.
Zoom purposes
Oh, man.
at some point.
Yeah.
We like you in the car, Groach. You never
John
know.
does.
Somebody could be coming for you. It's smart to be mobile the way you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And keep
absolutely.
that catalytic converter safe.
Yeah.
Keep it
and
safe.
I don't have to pay as much in taxes either.
There you go. He's a
that's-
smart man, Bob Groach.
Sure.
All right, guys.
See
And
you,
it's
man.
Bob Groach here with his son Birds 365. All right, running late. We always do. That's on me, but it's more on Groach. And you can under over 999 yards. Kenny Gainwell rushing and pass receiving. McMullen.
No, I'm going under.
yeah,
I'm going
he's-
under.
No, he's nuts. He think Kenny Gainwell.
But now I heard of some fans. I saw some fans saying he's not going to make the team. Now that's not the case. The Eagles love him. He's making the team. Don't worry about that. He'll be on the team. But yeah, I think the lead back is going to be Penny or Swift or Penny. But Kenny's going to be a big part of the team. But $9.99, yeah, that's too
and
steep.
Groach had that rushing, just purely rushing. He thinks he can
No.
get 1,000. No
No.
shot, no chance.
No.
All right, that's why we love Bob Groach. All right, quick timeout. Mac coming back. Put a bow in the show.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
All right, we ran long. Brooks will do that to you. Love whenever Bob comes on. So we got to exit stage left, but we got a good one tomorrow. Scott Grayson from Fox 29, host of Props and Locks, is going to be on with us. And Clark Judge, who I wanted to book for a couple different reasons, because he's always good whenever he comes on, one of the best national writers. But I always think of him as a 49er guy because he was on the 49er beat out in San Francisco years ago. He's part of
a lot of 49er talk, Jody. Clark will be good for that.
Right. I want to get his whole take on the whole 49ers overstated, Debo being out of the game. But you know what it came down to? Basically 3 letters. SH is compared to C. Or compared to W. The 49ers could have won the game if Brock Purdy had stayed in it. The way the 49ers would have won the game. Those 2-letter differences is the biggest difference in the world between being could have won and would have won. And too many Niner players and or fans said would have won, which was stupid. And that's why they got egg on their face. But the fact that it's still a story, lo, these many months later, get Clark Judge's take on that tomorrow.
Hey, by the way, before we leave real quick, Jeremy Fowler, I told you, is doing this top 10 list by executives, players, scouts, etc. Safeties are out. I told you corners, safeties are out.
Eagles don't have a safety in them.
No, they do not, but they use that. Number 8, Detroit Lions, CJ Gardner Johnson. Now, there wasn't an executive willing to pay him, but he's number 8.
Yeah, somehow they thought that great of him, but nobody was willing to up that money.
Kind of.
Who's the kid who went from Bates? Bates is
number 6. It goes Minka Fitzpatrick, Derwin James, Justin Simmons, Buda Baker, trade pickup potentially. Javon Holland from the Dolphins, Jesse Bates, Kevin Byard, Philadelphia's own from Tennessee, CJ Huffnagel from the 49ers, and Antoine Winfield Jr., number 10.
All right. And the difference between 6 and 8 is what? Bates got how much money?
Oh, he got a lot.
Yeah.
16, 17. I'd have to look it up. But
and
somewhere
CJ got 8.
6.5. He can make up to 8.
Right. With incentives. So that's pretty damn good deal that Detroit cut. If that's the case, if they got the 8th best cornerback and they're only paying him 6.5, and Atlanta had to pay 16 for the 6th best safety. Yeah, I don't know which is better, Detroit's deal or is Atlanta's deal worse.
Also got the honorable mentions: Quandre Diggs, Marcus Williams, Kyle Duggar from the Patriots, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde from the Bills.
Marcus Williams, who Johnny Mack tells us Eagles wanted.
Oh, Eagles wanted him badly. Xavier McKinney,
top 10 safeties. Wow.
Xavier McKinney, Jalen Petrie. I'm surprised Kyle Hamilton didn't break the top 10 safeties.
Next year.
And no Eagles, no Reed Blankenship, no Terrell Edmonds, no Sidney Brown.
Didn't think that was happening, but all right, partner, we got 2 good guests tomorrow. I'll be back here. You gonna be back here?
Let's do it.
What do you got better going on a Thursday morning? The answer to that question, I'll make it for you. None. So be right back here with us on Birds 365 tomorrow in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365. the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.